Hey, this is Fish, and we're back in the podcast studio and one more time in the tank with Fish. And we develop these. It gives me a little longer time to talk about local business and how they develop, where they come from, who are the people that are really the ones that are, if you will, in the trenches doing local business in our community. And so today I'm real excited because I've got Pastor Jim Carpenter, who I could bring him on and talk about being a pastor, which we might slip over into that area. But we're going to talk about, he grew up in this area and now has the event center, the premier event center. Can I call it the premier event center in Marysville? Anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, how that started. So, Jim, what I really would like to do is, you grew up here. This is not unfamiliar territory.
No.
You grew up in this area.
Yeah,
and,
my family's come from the Tudor area out in Sutter County, and so I forgot how many generations, multiple generations, but that's where we grew out, and then we moved into town when I was probably in kindergarten or something like that. Yeah.
Did you go to Mother Goose?
No, but one of my children did for a season. Yeah, I think you threw him out or something.
Probably.
I don't know. No.
Toughened him up, did we?
Yeah, you did a good job. Yeah.
So at what point in growing up, because you're probably like most of us, you were a little wild in your teenage years.
Yeah, I
slightly.
Was. Of course. Yeah, I was a little wild, and you're putting it
mildly. I'm being careful here.
No, you're putting it mildly. So no, I grew up here, and then ended up going into the Bay Area for a while, and then Christine, my wife, and we moved up into Soulsbyville, up there above Sonora for a season. Oh. But we ended up back here. We had one of our daughters actually up there in that area. And then moved back, and we've been here since I was probably when I was late 20s, moved back into the area, and been here ever since.
That's kind of a common theme. Young kids that grow up here and they say, I can't wait to get out of this town.
Right.
And then they leave, right? And then they go, that town wasn't that bad. And they come back, and it's like, so at what point did you make a connection with business? At what point did you go, I like business?
Well, it really was. I grew up in school, and I've always liked working with my hands and everything. So I ended up in construction, ended up in working for a local roofing company for years, and traveled all over the North State doing that, learning a lot from the ground up. Then I did some friends and built some houses for a while, and then ended up in from then doing land development and learning that process. And we did a couple projects and out of state, one of them out of state, and doing that. So I liked the ability an entrepreneur and then doing it on my own. And so as you grow up, the natural point is, okay, I'm going to not just work for somebody, but I'm going to embrace the business realm and then step into it. So I went through quite a process. It's a process from a kid all the way up, to early adulthood, and now I find myself now learning. Wow, that's why I learned all those things back then. This comes in handy. This is really beneficial. So I probably around in my later 20s, early 30s, and then by that time I was fully in my 30s in business and running roofing companies, and ended up working for a large roofing manufacturer, and I took over the whole region and managing that for them, which is the North State, and then ended up becoming a pastor, very unexpectedly, but.
Yeah,
very.
He has to sneak that in on you, or you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, he did sneak it on me. He did. But I knew early on that I wanted to work with my hands. I've always liked that. Mm-hmm. But I was raised with a family that really had work ethic, and I learned it from my grandfather, from my dad. And it was a natural. So it was a natural flow that I ended up on my own and doing my own thing, and started with my wife answering the phone and me in a truck, and away I went, So that's how it happened.
I had a similar background in my degree is in business.
Yeah.
But I changed my degree 3 times before I ended up with a degree in business and started my own company. And I totally relate to that. And you and I were having a conversation the other day that I thought was really interesting, because people will say, well, how do you blend the pastorate and the church, right, with business? Mm-hmm. And then you'll have some people say, well, the church is a business, but the church really isn't a business, but it has business. It has to do business, right? It's a necessary part of it. And you brought up something very interesting that I had never really thought about. And that was, Paul said he was a tent maker.
Absolutely.
Right. So in the contemporary, we call that being bivocational, but it's really not, it's all one thing, right? Really? It's like, okay, I do this, but I do this. And so talk about that just a bit, because I was like,
it's actually completely biblical. Okay, so if you've learned all these things all along your life, and the call of God comes to you, and you begin to shepherd and to pastor and do the things, God gives you the grace to do it. But he never says, stop doing everything else I trained you in. And the Lord has been with me all those years, and I learned the way everybody learns. I learned a lot by I'm not going to do that again. And you start growing, right? And you learn by the things you suffer. And Jesus, it says that Jesus, grew that way, learned that way. And so I never stopped, and so I believe absolutely in Paul the Apostle, who made tents and continued on in business and ended up, writing 60% of the New Testament. So it's really a biblical truth. And I think that we limit ourselves a lot of times when we just say, well, I'm just going to do this. For me, being in the business world has opened up avenues of contact and relationship and network and all those things that are very, very profitable in the sense of life enrichment and touching people, and that I wouldn't if you're just waiting for folks to come through the door of your church. We are the church. And so why wouldn't we be in business?
Yeah. I ended up with Mother Goose Preschool, which you're familiar with. We'll talk a little bit about that connection. But business has always followed me. And when people have said, well, did you step out of the pastorate? Not really. But now I have a radio station and the podcast and still have Mother Goose, and we're still doing these things. And to me, it's all the same. I can't divide who I am from what I do.
Exactly.
And so when I met you, your church was at, I'm trying to think, Epley. It was over on Epley in Yuba City.
Yeah.
And we had different conversations at times about things, and it was a familiarity from being in the pastorate. But I really didn't get to see the other side of Jim Carpenter until you moved over here to Marysville, felt to move, and you did something very unusual for a pastor. You've done a lot of things unusual. I don't know what you're going to let me talk about, what you're not, but you got a building in Marysville and did not put the church name on it. I thought that was great. Personally, I thought, wow. So can you talk a little bit about that? How did that happen?
Sure. Well, first of all, the Lord is amazing. That's an understatement of history. But I didn't want to take that building on. I didn't want to do anything.
I don't blame you. That's a lot of square footage.
That's a lot of square footage. A lot of work. But it was obviously him, and we made the move. I didn't have a plan, or it didn't come out of my thinking. Okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this in Marysville. It really kind of just unfolded.
Can I just?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It seems to me that, and it's interesting you should say that, but it's like he told Abraham, just leave your country. He didn't tell him where he's going. He just said, start walking.
He just get up and get moving. I'll talk to you as you go.
Sounds like you had an Abraham moment. It's like, just go to Marysville. Just go.
there's so many things happen that way that I have a strong indication or a pull in my heart, or however you want to language it. This is what I need to do. And so really the key to it is in a walk of faith. That's what it is. Okay, get up and do what Abraham did and get moving. I will speak to you. That is exactly what happened here. So we went over and did it. And I even did with the original owners and said, okay, well, if we're going to do this, well, all right, Lord, I'm going to test this out. And everybody tests the water. Is this real? Because you want to know before you do something like this. I said, okay, I need X amount of months free. I need a new roof. I need this and this and this. And I said, well, they'll never accept that. Well, guess what? They accepted it. And it's like, now what?
Now I have this building. I asked for it and I got it.
And I'm leading back into your question was, okay, what do you do now? And so they accepted it, and that's quite a story. But I drove over the 10th Street Bridge from my house in Yuba City, and I parked down there, and I sat in there, and I began to pray. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do with this? And what am I even doing here? What's going on? And that's when he said, name it the 530. And this is pretty funny. To me, it's funny, he just said, I said, well, what's the 530? He said, it's your area. Look at it. And it's just like, oh, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's right. And he said, no, look at it. And so I actually did. I picked up my phone and looked at the area code. Man, the 530 goes all the way up.
Yes.
It's huge. It's a huge area. And he said to me, if you put the name of your ministry on that building, I won't be able to do what I want. But if you'll name it the 530 Event Center, I'll be able to do what I want. And so that was pretty challenging for a lot of people. And now you got to say, okay, church, we're going to come over here and we're going to do this, and we're going to put in all our sweat and all our work and all our hard work and finances and everything else, and we're not putting the name of the church on there. What? But the grace of God was on it all. And since then, it has really opened up the region, the community, because it isn't labeled the bridge. We are the church. We are the bridge. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing that we have to do for the state, and obey the law of the land, and get yourself put in order. Okay, but we've been able to interface with schools. Political events, dance recitals,
weddings, incredible weddings, beautiful, and graduations, proms, the grad nights, all of it has really, really opened up. Now, none of this do you get ahead of the time. You just say, okay, and you take that step. Then what the Lord says, what the Holy Spirit says is I'll be able to reach a lot more people. That's really what he was saying. I'll be able to do what I want to do. But it would have been very limiting if I would have followed my traditional or conventional thinking. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the air is because, well, on the podcast, it's kind of like on the air, same thing.
Sure.
But it's that connection where I feel sometimes that the church stands over here and everybody else over here, and it's not an us against them. It's not that mentality. And so I had come over to talk to you because I had ended up in a situation where I had a radio station, and it's like, and I had people tell me, Pastor Bob, you need to stop that radio business and get back in the pulpit. And I just, to be very honest, I felt like this is what the Lord wanted me to do, and I was going to pursue it. It doesn't mean everybody gets behind you and says, great, we're all for you, right? But I remember going over to talk to you when you were at the 530, and I thought, well, I'm going to go over and talk to Jim about, is there a way we can promote it? Because it's an event center. And to me, from the standpoint of business and looking at the community, it's like, well, do we have an event center in Marysville? I mean, and I walked in there, and you guys were still in the very throes of the beginning construction. Yeah. And I walked in and just went, this place is amazing. And as you continued to go on, and I saw it being built out and what you were doing, And like you had you had the main part, and then you had 2 side rooms, and I was like, there's a lot of opportunity. And as we went, I began to be able to tell people. They said, "Well, I want to do this," and I'd say, "Well, do you know Marysville has an event center?" And over again, I heard no. I didn't know that.
Right.
And it was one of the reasons, because I want to promote local business.
Sure.
So although we're friends and I know some backstory, and we both have had similar backgrounds, some we're proud of, some we're not so proud of, right? You know, but I wanted people to know that. I feel like that's what we do here, is to help people understand these things are available. And now you're how many years down the road since you went over there? How far down are you now?
Oh, since we made the initial move, I think we've got to be 5 years now.
5?
I'll have to look back, but I think this was like the 5th year since the move.
As a facility, that building is nothing like it started.
No. And we remember that, you know, what it was when we were kids. It was the Montgomery Ward's storage warehouse. You know, that's what I'm dating myself, but that's what it was originally, and it's gone through it. But we really, from top to bottom, have gone through it, and like you said, we've put the walls internally, so it's there's an east overflow room that's independent. There's a west overflow room that's independent that can be rented out, and then there's a main. And then there's a whole nother section, which is all towards kids ministry and going to be early childhood development, you know, partnering with you guys. But we are now just stepping into the phase 2. The phase 1 was to get there, get it functional, get it operational, get it up to speed, and we did that. And now we are starting the phase 2 build out, which is the next phase is going to be make it very, very multi-use. A lot of the tech, a lot of the different things that we're doing there, and it's going to open up a lot more space, a lot more ability to do it. But it has been quite an adventure, and these things are an adventure when you do it. But and we didn't really, when you said not a lot of people know, we didn't feel that until we got to the first or in the second phase and really started getting all the amenities that needed to be in there. And we got a lot. We still have a good project list to go through. We didn't get it out, and so it's really kind of been community spread the word. And so we didn't do a huge deal other than you and I talking, you know, a couple times. But we haven't really done a whole lot, and we will in the future. But it has really become a community opportunity, and the word is now getting out. We're getting a lot of fundraisers and a lot of different things. So the word is
I've been to several of them.
Yeah, the word is really starting to spread now, and I liked doing that because it provided opportunity for connection. And so word of mouth is your best advertiser. It's you do a good job, you put a good product out, you take care of people, you serve, and you build a relationship along the way. So it's been this first few steps have been really gratifying in that aspect of creating. And now a lot of people are, hey, okay, I need my spot for next year. Yeah. And so we're doing a lot of those, and the clientele is being built. And Christine, my wife, she does an awesome job. She represents us well.
So she's actually the one that handles the event center.
Yeah, she's the event center manager, director. That is direct oversight. We have a board and we help. We all work together on it. But she's doing a great job. Absolutely.
So I've been in there for different events, right? And so I've got to see it's pretty amazing how you can take that space and configure it for different events, right? And I mean, it's a big space. I don't know how many. What's the seating capacity in the main part?
The main seating in theater type seating is 720. The capacity is 1,200.
Wow.
For the building, but 720. Banquets, some of the larger ones we've been 500, 600. Weddings, and that's tables front to back with everything. So we can do pretty large large wedding gatherings and table seating. And so that comfortability is that 500, 600 range. Like I said, but the theater seating for presentations and for graduation and stuff is 720 in the main hall. But overall, the building with everything is 1,200.
So there have been a couple of things that absolutely rocked me when I walked in the door. I went in one time and there was I believe it was a wedding where they had literally put curtains around the entire.
I remember that, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that place was gorgeous. You would not have thought you walked in a warehouse.
No, that was amazing. I had the same thing, the same deal, because I walked in, I was like, "Whoa!"
What?
and I didn't expect it, because Christine does handle it. She knew it, but when I walked in, as they first thing they came in and they draped it almost from ceiling. That's 20 feet. That thing is tall, and they draped the entire in of the main room, the entire everything. So that was amazing, and I think that one was really up around 600. But it really worked out on that one because they came in and draped it. They wanted to get ahead of them. And so we had multiple events that week. So I believe it was a Wednesday or a Tuesday, they came and draped it. And then a school came in for their middle school graduation and their high school graduation.
And it was already draped?
It was draped. And so they loved it. It was like, oh, yeah. And so the next Thursday and Friday night was the graduation, and the place packed out, and it was fully draped, and so they really got a great graduation week that week. And then as soon as that was done on Friday night, then the wedding came in on Saturday, and so we did three main events. It's Thursday, Friday, and then the wedding came in on Saturday.
So the other thing that has amazed me is the size of the stage. How many square feet is that stage?
Oh,
it's huge.
I don't have all these things. It's huge. It's for the dance studios that, and we're adding a lot of the lighting and a lot of the reels. That's really,
yeah, I saw that. That's new lighting. That lighting.
We got some more lighting package that's coming in later on this year to brighten it up again, but they loved it. It's full for, you can do an orchestra. It's full. Wow. I think it's 40 something deep. And I think, I don't want to just guesstimate, but it is large. It's a house.
I was going to say,
a medium house.
That's what I told somebody. I said the square footage of the stage is more than the square footage of my 3-bedroom, 2-bath home.
Oh yeah,
and it's like
well over
2,000
square feet.
Right.
Yeah.
So 93Q wants to hold a concert there, right? We're going to just.
That'd be awesome.
That would be
super.
That
would be a wonderful.
That is so available to do that, man. It's
we had a concert early on. One of the first ones is the Joshua Fest. It was the night before Joshua.
Yeah.
They came in and did one. And so that was a really cool. They had like 4 or 5 bands, and it was pretty amazing how they turned over, in between, and each band.
That's why you need a stage manager, right?
Oh, yeah,
because they got to get them in and get them out, and you've got a rear access, right? So they can access from another room, and the stage is big enough they can literally. Back when I played in a rock band in Sacramento, they would do that. They would have your instrument, depending on when you were playing.
Yeah,
they'd have your instruments, and then they'd have a curtain. Yeah, and then the next guy's instruments and a curtain. Yeah. And so they would just pull them. And as they did, they'd pull the gear, pop the curtain, and the next band was up, right?
Yeah.
And and you have that kind of room. I want to talk a little bit about the side rooms for over there. Now, you have plenty of parking because you have the parking at the facility. You have an overflow parking. Yeah. And then literally right over the freeway is all that over the levee is all that parking where the county and that, which when they're not over there, it's just blank parking space.
Well, the city, I want to do safe on the city. The city of Marysville has been awesome to work with. They are very proactive in their growth and everything. So they've been wonderful. County's been wonderful. We've had no problem. So to get in and get our use permit and everything else, we had to have the ability to cover our parking, which is our parking lot, is limited. And then simultaneously they had gotten a grant and redid the parking, so we had some additional parking for the street parking. But what we did with an agreement with YCOE was we have an auxiliary overflow parking. That's 90 parking spots that are just adjacent to the building, and to get up above the 700 and the 1200 range, we've got in the evenings and on the weekends, we have a shuttle system with the van, and we shuttle everybody right over there under the covered parking on the Yuba County building. And
yeah, that's what I was talking about, that building. So
yeah, and so we just do a shuttle
it's like
service.
a 1 minute ride.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just so
up and
quick.
over, back and forth. And so, and I think there's an additional 200 something parking spots over there. So that's how we stage it, and we get to that. We run a shuttle service every weekend, just over making room for. Then we want to make sure that we're good neighbors. We don't want to park in front of the folks, the houses and everything else, so that they have access. We go in there, we cone off driveways and stuff like that, so that they're not boxed in at all, and they have access. But that's how we do it. We fill up, we go to overflow, then we want to do larger events, and we are able to shuttle over to the Yuba County side.
So if you're having an event in the main room, now I know you got 3 big screens.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's doing a presentation, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
But if, in terms of overflow in the building, if they have overflow where I'm in the east or west room, is that synced up where they can see what's going on in the main room?
Yeah, the east right now is completely everything that goes on in the main room and on the tech video presentation. That plays in the east room. The west room, and by September, at the end of next month, it will be able to do that. It's not right now, but yeah, they will all be identical. And so you have an event that can overflow, and both of those rooms are additional 180 on the east side and 180 people on the west side. So those big screens are in there right now. The east room overflow is functional, and it screens and everything. Same presentation in the main room is going on in the east room, and the west room will be in September.
So I'm going to ask you, Pastor.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, see, I've done this, having a business in the school, with the school,
Sure.
in the church. And sometimes, I mean, not everybody's happy with that, but, I actually attend there now, and everybody seems to be okay that we are having church in an event building. No, nobody seems to, it's like, well, that's where I go. And so has it been a pretty smooth transition?
Even though it's been a very smooth, incredibly smooth transition to understand that. When you really see it biblically, when you see the apostles and you really look at the New Testament, and you really realize, okay, Peter and Andrew, they're fishermen. Well, and I had a guy speak to me very wisely. And he said, why would you not continue to use the things that you've developed? Well, Paul, from periodically at different times, he was making tents and doing whatever he needed. And also, the churches would supply the need. And so there was a diversity of provision that was flowing. So really, when you look at it that way and you present it that way, and here's the vision the Lord is giving, here's the plan. The plan, we would say, but really is by inspiration of the Holy Spirit. This is what He's saying. This is what He's going to do. Everybody was that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And so it was very smooth. I was more worried about it, because I'm just battling my own mind a lot, just like, okay, Lord, did you really say? Is this really going to work? That's just the thing that we do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But really, the folks really saw the vision, really gone onto it, and so there was an ease of it. And when the Lord is doing things, there is an ease to these types of transitions, and it made a lot of sense to everybody.
You have a very strong. It's one of the reasons I started this conversation with. You grew up here,
Yeah.
And you have a very strong love for this area.
Absolutely.
And you're not a guy that feels like I want to be distant, right? It's like you want to be part of. And your sense of reaching into the community is not atypical of, oh, we just want to reach people, let's hand them a flyer and invite them to church. You really have, we want to be part of the community. We want to be working, connecting with everybody that you can, right? And so having a business, even though you have a church, having a business has been really conducive to that. The community's coming in, you're meeting people at that level, and then looking around and saying, what else can we do? You always seem to be like, what else or what more can we do? So I came and approached you and said, hey, I'm moving Mother Goose preschool over here. And you were very open. It's like, well, just put it there. What? And you were like, yeah, just put it there. And it's like, because it's one more way to meet needs in the community.
Wonderful way.
And so, and we're very grateful because we've had people ask us, it's Mother Goose closing. No, it's moving. And the transition has been huge because we sold a building. Yeah. And then trying to find a building in this area, it isn't as easy as people think.
Sure.
And then utilizing that space. I remember I went in your office one day and I said, so, you're pretty much done here. You're going to need another building. I mean, it's amazing how fast you can outgrow that. But I wanted to bring that up because what do you see coming down the road when you look at the event center and other ways that you say, how can we be more a part of the community? Because Marysville, the thing is, you say Marysville's got potential. Everybody's saying Marysville's got momentum now. It's moving, and you can feel it. I believe it's the reason this radio station is in Marysville. I believe that's what God wanted, and it gives us opportunity to say, hey, this is going on. But, what do you see next, right? What is, are you afraid to say it, right? Because you might end up, and the Lord tells you go buy another building. You're going to be like, can we finish this?
I've learned to be wise.
Have you?
Well, I'm trying. Okay. When Jesus said, you're a city set on a hill, a light that cannot be hidden, you need to, whatever's going on, the truth, the foundation, the building of faith, it is to affect a city. It is to affect a region in a positive manner. And that is what the church is called to. So Paul would write it this way. He would say, I make myself all things to all men that I might gain access. And Jesus would send the disciples out into the cities as they would go. That's our commission. That's what we're called to do. Working with people close like this, and working with the city, the community, is what can you do? As a matter of fact, Marysville Momentum is on the back of my shirt. That's what a T-shirt I'm wearing right now. What can you do to positively affect the city in which the Lord has placed you? Because He's going to make an impact. Marysville, years ago when I was young, was thriving. This is where everything was. I mean, everybody came from Yuba City over here. Over the years, there's cycles. And I feel that Marysville is on an up cycle now.
I do too. Absolutely.
It's the opportunities are here. I remember when we were in land development, we went to a city, I won't say which one, but it was out of state, and I had taken my wife there, and we flew into the city late, and it was dark, and you couldn't really see it. And in the morning, she got up and looked out the window, and I heard her, and I had gone down to get some coffee, and I came back up. She was on the phone talking to another family member, and said, "Oh, this is desolate. This place is crazy. What are we doing here?" And I said, "That's exactly why we're here." We laugh about that. So Marysville has an opportunity, and I really want to say that to Marysville, the citizens, the people, the families. There is a momentum. There is opportunity. There is a collectiveness to work together. civil authority, spiritual authority, goodwill-based folks. There's a opportunity to really turn around and make a difference, and we can do it. Now, there was a general that came in. You were at that, and
General
he
Flynn.
said something, General Flynn. He said, don't try to change from the top. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Start right where you are.
Yeah.
Making an impact on your community. And he made some suggestions. The school board, start working with it, start making an impact. And so really city impact is one of the things that is the future, is really a lot of emphasis that we're going to be putting on, is that, and working with everybody in the city. That's the key. I tell people a lot, the anointing or the synergy is in the grouping. It's the anointing is in the cluster, not the individual.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to do much individually, but man, we sure can corporately and collectively. We can really do a great job. So really right now, the message is, Marysville, you have awesome opportunity. We work with Christine, does a wonderful job. She works with different budgets. She does a wonderful time to really cause people to say, I like my city. I like the parks. I like, there's groups like Say Love. I just saw Jeff a little bit ago.
Yeah.
They're doing a wonderful job. The same thing. It's the same spirit, and you feel that when you work with the city and talk with the city. Everybody can feel it, and so that's captured on this City Impact shirt I'm wearing. The Hope Rising for Marysville, and Marysville Momentum is on the back. That's a real, tangible influence, and I'm very excited about it. You asked me what other things we have a lot planned. I just left a meeting on getting organized for what's coming in this fall, and we'll have you and I'll talk more about that.
Yeah, bring it back on.
And I'll bring it back on another time. But the first step was the 530 Center. And then that is now how do we work together with all the faith-based, all the goodwill-based, all the community leaders? How do we do this? How do we collectively work together? So there's a lot of meeting, a lot of think tank happening right now on how to do it. But I think Marysville is headed in a very positive direction.
There's a difference between thinking this is my city, and it's like when it moves out of possession, right? My city, like I own it, and moves into servanthood, I care about it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with you're very much that way. This city matters to you.
Yes.
What happens here matters to you. And in Christianity, we talk about a servant leader, a servant heart that cares about other people, reaches beyond their own life and reaches out. And you have stuck your neck out more times than, right? But it was really the Lord pushing you forward. What else can we do reminds me of John Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And I think we're moving there. It's that, quit asking for Marysville to fix something. Get out and pick up trash, right? Or get out and be part of it. Where can you be a servant? Where can you be a part?
Yes.
And you very much have that attitude. You're not let's all sit over here at the church, right? Us four and no more, right? Yeah. You're very much, how can we reach out and be part of what's going on as part of the whole? And that's in part why I said, is there more coming? And you've assured me there is.
Yes, there is.
It's like, there'll be more coming. I mean, I know for me, it was very, very, very obvious to me. I got invited to be on radio. Never thought I'd actually own a station.
Sure.
And then having the opportunity to do that and to be a connecting point for the community. So it's really, I'm part of. It's more like this area owns me than I own this area. Yeah. And you begin to feel that I belong here. This area owns me. I'm supposed to be here. And God has a purpose and an intent in my being here. And so when I met you, there's a lot of things about you and I that parallel, other than the fact I'm only slightly older than you. Other than that, a lot of things that happen in our life. So it's easy to connect and easy to see that there's much more in front of us. And I appreciate what you said about there's things that have happened in your life that actually prepared you for
yeah.
where you're at right
absolutely.
now, and your love for the city, your love for the people,
Yeah.
and it all went before. And the event center was something, in my opinion, that wasn't here. And that's how I feel about Mother Goose Preschool, right? Like, I felt like the preschool needed to move here. And I had people say, why are you, leaving over there? Why are you going to Marysville? And it's very hard to explain. It's like you said, that pull, man, I hope I'm not just hearing my own head, right? But it's like, let's do that. And it just seems so odd to me that I had met you on Epley, and between Epley and here, there's just been a radical shift in God being able to say, it's not, I don't want you here just for a building.
No.
You're not here for that.
No.
I've created in you this draw to the city. You're not going to just sit in a building and say, I hope somebody visits.
No, it's a part, it's a tool, and that's what I tell everybody, that this is a tool. He's using this as a tool to connect and to network and connect and meet a need for the city. That's really what it is. With the 530, the church is to be outside and to make and to positively impact the city. The city of Marysville put together an adopt-a-park, and we adopted with them, partnering with them, and adopted the veterans.
Which I'm very grateful for.
And it's one. I mean, we jumped at that to say this is a wonderful opportunity. I was able to go, to city council and talk with them and thank them. And I thank them. Thank you guys for thinking outside the box and doing what you're doing and allowing us to come in. So on the 19th, we're going to be hitting it in force, and we're working with the city to get the things needed and plant the flowers and stand down the veterans organization. Those guys are awesome. They are awesome. And so they said, hey, let us know what you need, for flowers or whatever. And they just loved it too. So there's just this synergy that starts to get to happen because you said it earlier in your language, it's our city. And we can do this. Yeah, and that's really what you're doing and connecting. And when we do that, the impact is just far greater. So there's a lot of folks that are here. I didn't, again, going back to our when I started this, I had no idea I was coming to Marysville. It was a shock to me. I mean, I grew up here.
At least your wife didn't go, this is desolate. There's a lot of people here. It's not desolate.
No, I grew up a Yuba City honker, and it was the big little game. It was our arch rival was the Marysville Indians. It's like, what am I doing going over to Marysville? It was works against all, as you're a kid and everything. But the opportunity over here has just been, and it keeps unfolding, just like you said, like Abraham. Hey, get up and get moving. Take a step. I'll speak to you as you go, and then you get these aha moments. Oh, this is why, or this is that. Okay, what you're talking about, Lord. That's really how inspiration flows from the Holy Spirit to you. He's very good. He will overwhelm you if he were to lay out your plan. You'd probably just keel over.
I quit.
No way.
I can't do it.
But he's gracious.
Like, no, you can't.
But he's gracious with us to say, here's this, and here's the doors I'm opening. Here's the network that you're doing, and you stay flexible in transition. That's totally key. Is to be very, very flexible and to work with. And I love what you said as far as language. Language is important. Mm-hmm. We, our, and us. Yeah. Not I. Or my. Yeah. It's we, our, and us. This is what we do to create that momentum or that synergy. And it's been coined now, and I love it, Marysville Momentum. And hope is rising. And you and I have had those conversations. Yeah. We need hope. Yeah. People need hope. We need to, what can we do? And then again, General Flynn, start right where you are. Adopt a park. Get out and pick up trash. Knock down some weeds. Start to make our appearance and take ownership of our city and responsibility.
When he came, he said two significant things. And, I was asked to MC that, which really, with a general, the MC means just let him do whatever he wants. I stood at parade rest the bulk of that time.
You're right.
But what impressed me was he really only had 2 points. And it was all veterans there because it was honoring veterans. You guys had put on a veterans breakfast.
Yeah.
And he thanked the veterans, which being a general, you know,
absolutely
thanking the troops. But the second thing was what he said. I know you're not in anymore, but your commitment didn't stop when you discharged.
Oh, wow, that's good.
And now you need to be involved. And I heard the same thing you did. You know, get on the school board. You know, but get involved.
Get involved.
And I think that's what I see happening. I see ones like you and I, and people can say, well, the Lord told me. And if the Lord's telling you to start a business, right, in Marysville, my suggestion is do it. But the second side of that is the cooperation from city council, city government to start a business and to have a business here is really exceptional, in my opinion. Yeah. Because the things I've had to work with the city, they've been very accommodating. I didn't know what I was doing. Right, I didn't own a radio station before, and you know how to do that. And but it's like the doors are wide open here to come and be part of something that's thriving and very much alive.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you know, and sometimes we will use I call it Christianese, or we'll use things like the Lord said. Really, I want to break that down just a little bit, whether it's in business, because the Lord doesn't come to, and he doesn't limit to himself to just a church service. He's in your life.
Yeah.
And so really under inspiration, identifying inspiration, he's called you. In other words, you, just like General Flynn says, just because you're discharged doesn't mean you, right? You're not active. Be active.
Raise my hand.
You
That's
do
the rest of my life, right?
It's the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So really what he does, when you have those thoughts that are smarter than you, that's him. Get involved. Like, do your part. And if each one of those parts start coming together, right? And we start working together to make a difference, and you have open door in a city, like you said, then this is that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things that are, a lot of thoughts that were way smarter than us has got us here.
Yeah.
A lot of those, that inspiration from the Holy Spirit, those thoughts come, and you just start taking one step at a time.
Yeah.
Momentum gets built. That's the way it does.
Pastor Jim, thanks for coming on.
Oh,
I knew we'd have a good time.
It's fun.
And we only covered a small amount in an hour, right?
Yeah,
it's like you and I could probably go several hours, right? But one more time, I want to remind folks, the reason that I wanted to start doing In the Tank with Fish is to promote small business, to promote the individuals who are committed and dedicated to doing something that serves it. You know, it's a business, so they have to make money to eat, but it serves the community. And it's one of the reasons I wanted Jim Carpenter in here today, not just because he's a pastor and my friend, those are great things, but because it is a small business and it is reflective of what's going on in Marysville. And it's not that there isn't great business going on in Yuba City and the surrounding area, but there has been this small business struggling when we went through COVID and et cetera. And I want people to know small business is coming out of it, and there's great opportunities. Mm-hmm. And in particular, Marysville is very open because they feel like they have moved from potential to momentum. Yeah. So this has been In the Tank with Fish with Pastor Jim Carpenter. We're going to have him back because he's fun. Okay, that's no other reason. Thanks for watching.